Hi, so we're going to be going live momentarily. So I'm just starting now just to get the link ready. If you are watching the playback, you can skip the narrations. Not to worry if you don't have the book, because I will be writing the math here on the dry erase frame behind me. But just give me a minute to be able to have my students join. And as the board and a marker, you are already here. Thank you. Go ahead and gather your materials. Or if you're a parent and you're watching, go ahead and grab your little one. Have them sit down for today's math lesson. I am just going to add a few links and information here for you all. And I'm going to have Lonnie, I want you to go check this, Lonnie, to make sure it's working. Go in your bedroom and check the live stream. So I'm going to have her check the live stream just to make sure that everything is working okay. And then we will get started with the order of operations lesson in a minute. Okay. So if you are my student and you're already on the live stream, you should have posted your questions in Google Classroom for me to review them for you before I end the live stream video. Okay, and if you are my student, I just pushed out, an extra video in addition to the live stream in the Google Classroom to help you to better understand. Okay, so I know we're doing things a little bit different, but I appreciate your patience and thank you for not giving up. Thank you for persevering and pushing through and trying to get your work done. So we're going to start with the My Math lesson, and then we'll come back in another live video to go over the park test prep. If you have any questions about that, comment them in our Google Classroom. All right, so I'm just going to send the link to parents. So don't leave a little bit. And those of you who have little ones and you're watching this, she's giving me the thumbs up. She's saying that it's all good. Those of you who have little ones who are watching this, there'll be some basic math that they may be able to pick up on, like, what's 5 plus 5? Okay, so having them watch this may be beneficial. I don't know how long I'll keep their attention, and know that we are going to start. It's 10:15. I'm going to give 5 more minutes to let other students come on as well. And I'm sending the link for the lesson. And my daughter gave me the thumbs up that the live stream is going well and that the video is clear and the voice is available as well. Just to make sure our connection is okay. And take a deep breath, relax, stretch. While I'm sending the link to the parent, let me tell you a few brain break things. Like if you find yourself struggling to stay focused, one thing you can do is, I have a jar of mint on my desk. I keep a jar of mints because the minty flavor of gum or mint is good for the brain. You can do some brain break things, and your brain is, I'm a brain nerd. So your brain, you have a left and a right hemisphere. So anytime you cross those two parts of your brain, and already that feels so good, bring it in. And that's just one way to boost your brain activity, the neurons in your brain. Something else you can do while you're sitting is just cross your legs. You can't see me, but I'm doing it beneath my desk. Cross your legs, okay? Cross your legs. That's why in my classroom, you are one of my students, go ahead and have your My Math book with you. And you're going to open up in your My Math book to page number, we're going to start on page number 487. Okay. And there's a word problem on page 487. And I always say that the average person needs to read a word problem how many times? Do you remember, Lonnie? 3 times. The average person needs to read a word problem 3 times before they're able to solve it. So if you're a parent and you're watching this and your kid's like, I don't know how to do it, send them back, okay, and have them read it again. And I also have my students have a highlighter with them, and they have to highlight the most important information in the problem. So if you're one of my students and you don't have a highlighter, you can use an orange or a yellow marker, or you can use a colored pen to underline the most important information in the problem. But I am going to start in a second. So go ahead and get your materials. Ailani does at the desk, and she's going to just look at the board and copy down the problems as we do them. So I may ask her to like chime in, you know, as my one student that is right here with me. Okay. We're going to be starting in a minute. I need to copy to get the baby. All right. So I'm going to try to use a dark marker to make sure you can see the board. If you cannot see the board on your screen, can you comment in the Google Classroom? So I'm going to try, yesterday blue seemed to work really well. So I'm going to try a blue marker, and I'm just going to start by writing the first problem even before we read it, just to make sure that you can see the board on your screen. Okay? So here we go. The problem we're going to have to, can you see that on your screen? Is that okay? Is blue okay to use? So here's the first problem, okay? The first times 8. Can you see that okay? What do you think? Can you see Ailani from where you are? All right, those of you who are watching on your screen, can you see it? Okay. My friends in the Google Classroom, let me just peek to see what they're saying. And we are going to go ahead and read the question, okay? Let's see what they're saying. Okay, cool. So they can see it. So that means you can see it on your screen. So here's the question we're going to be solving. Okay, so the table, there's a table in the book. So the table shows the number of calories burned in 1 minute for 2 different activities. Nathan swims for 4 minutes and then runs for 8 minutes. How many calories did Nathan burn in all? Okay, so in the book, there's a table. He went swimming, and in the table, he burned, it says calories burned per minute was 12. And then he went running, and calories burned per minute is 2. So that's why we have the numbers, I'm sorry, the number is 10. So we have the numbers 12 and 10. I'm going to read the problem to you again. And if you have it in if you're one of my students, you have the book, I'm on page 487. The table shows the number of calories burned in 1 minute for 2 different activities. Nathan swims for 4 minutes and then runs for 8 minutes. How many calories did Nathan burn in all? Did you catch that, Ailani? You understand where the numbers come from? Mm-hmm. Where does the number 4 come from? I'll read the problem again, and if you're listening or you are reading in the book, let's think about it. Where does the number 4 come from? And he runs for 8 minutes. How many calories did Nathan burn in all? So the 8 comes from the fact that he did what? He runs for 8 minutes. And then the number 10 comes from the fact that he did what? In the chart, it says he went for 10 minutes. There were 10 calories burned for that event. Okay. And then the number 4 comes in because it says that for 4 minutes he swims. And then in a chart, it says for the 4 minutes he swam, he burned 12 calories. So I want you to understand where the numbers are coming from, because even though in the book they give you the numbers, you still need to know where the numbers come from. A part of doing math in the real world is being able to dissect the problem, which is why I tell you to have a highlighter or a pen with you so you can underline the most important information. Now that we know where the numbers come from, let's show the work. Now, if you're my student, and Ailani knows this, I'm very big on showing work. And some kids don't like to show work. The reason I say show work is because as you increase in levels of math, there are going to be problems of what we call multi-step. So if you're doing multi-step problems, you have to show your work at all levels. And my students know by the time we're finished doing this problem, what should we have? A pizza pie with a pepperoni at the bottom. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Okay, so what do we do first? My dear Aunt Sally, okay? Each letter of please excuse my dear Aunt Sally stands parentheses say, hey, remember? Solve me first, okay? Parentheses say, hey, solve me first. And then the E stands for what? It stands for exponents. The exponent, if here's an example, if I have a number and then a little again, an exponent is a little number floating in the air. The bigger number is called the base. So, and please excuse my dear stands for what? Multiply. The D stands for divide. The A stands for add, and the S stands for subtract. Now, there's also a part of this rule that if it's multiplication or division, in addition or subtraction, I always like to say you solve. Let me move this down. You have to solve from left to right. So if you're taking notes, you probably want to write this in your notebook. Okay? So put this down in your notebook. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. And then if it's a multiplication or division or just addition or subtraction, you solve from left to right. So I like to put L to R at the bottom on Facebook every year about how to solve a problem. And most people get it wrong is because they forget this rule that if it's multiplication or division or subtraction, then solve it from left to right. Okay? So I'm going to give you a minute to write this down. And if you are in my Google Classroom, I did put some other videos for you to go back and watch when we're done the live that will help you to remember the process, some of my favorites. And if you're not one of my students in the Google Classroom and you are an adult, you can find them on my Best of Me Facebook page. Or you can just message me and I'll send you the links. Or you can go on my channel. I have a playlist called Videos for Kids or videos I play in my class. The videos can be found there too. So P stands for what? Sit down. You don't need slippers. The P stands for what? The E stands for, the M stands for, the D stands for, the A stands for, say this with me, the S stands for, and then don't forget the rule. If it's just multiplication or division, addition or subtraction, solve it from left to right. So let's go ahead and talk about what we are going to do first. What do you think, Lonnie? Now what we do first, according to the order of operations, we multiply first. 12 times 4, which is what? Yeah, you're the only one I'm talking to, Lonnie, because they can't respond to me. But if you're watching this, say it out loud if I ask you a question, just like we were in class. So now that I'm done this, watch this. Do not go on without me, because this is where people mess up. I'm going to teach you how to show the work. Write down your answer to this, and then write down everything else. Work like this. Why are we showing the work like this? Because eventually the problems will get more difficult and you need to show each step. So did you write this down? 48 plus 10 times 8. Okay. So now let's look at this. I have 48 plus 10 plus 8. I have two operations. I have addition and then I have multiplication. So what am I going to do first here? What do you think, Lonnie? And at home, from your seat and your screen, what do you think you're going to do next? Do you think you're going to do 48 plus 10, or do you think you're going to do, yes, Lonnie just said, I'm going to do 10 times 8 because multiplication is next, okay? So I'm going to use blue so you can see it better, okay? So put parentheses around 10 times 8. And what's 10 times 8? 80. Bring down the plus sign. Bring down the 48. Now, I want you showing your work like this because at the end, you're going to have a pizza pie with a pepperoni, okay? So now you're going to do, what is 48 plus 80? Alani said 128. Do you agree or disagree with that? Okay, you should agree. So now here's the part where I keep saying a pepperoni, a pizza with a pepperoni at the bottom. So watch this. Here's my slice of pizza, and there's my pepperoni is my answer. So every math problem that I do, and my students know this, I always say, get a pizza pie with a pepperoni at the bottom. Because if you're showing your work at every single step, then it's going to look like this. It's going to look like a pizza pie, a slice of pizza with the pepperoni at the bottom. Bring me yours. And then a pepperoni at the bottom. Now, I want to tell you something, because you see how Ailani put the equal signs? You don't need that. And yesterday, it's called an equation when there's an equal symbol. These are numerical expressions. If you were with me yesterday and my students, you learned about numerical expressions yesterday. This is called a numerical expression because they only have numbers and Alani. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. I'm going to just give you a minute because I don't want to go too fast. If you're still working, I'm going to count down from 5, and I'm going to erase this work, and we're going to try another one together from page 488. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So I'm going to erase this, and then we're going to write down the next problem. And for those of you at home, if you ever see in the directions it says evaluate the problem, the word evaluate means to solve it. They want an answer. Okay? So let's write down the next problem, and I'll read it to you for those of you who don't have a book. 20 minus open parentheses. Okay, open parentheses just means the first side. Plus 4 plus bracket. This is called a bracket. 4 plus 10. And inside the bracket, there's another 4 plus parenthesis 10 divided by 2. Make that bigger so you can see it. 10 divided by 2. Together. I'll read it again. 20 minus open parenthesis, 4 plus bracket, plus 4, another parentheses inside the open parenthesis. Bring your paper over. 10 divided by 2, close parenthesis, bracket. Those of you who have the book, this is easier for you, but let me help you guys out. All right, come over here, Lonnie, so you can write it down. And we'll talk about, but it's 20 minus parentheses, 4 plus the brackets. There's brackets inside of the parentheses. Normally, I like to do this in different colors. So here's my bracket. Okay, so you can see the difference. There's a bracket. This is called a bracket. And we'll talk about what do you do there. Just make sure I have that down correctly. Yeah, I do. Bracket. What do the parentheses say? Parentheses say, hey, solve me first. The brackets are going to say the same thing. So if you have, like we have here, we have brackets and then parentheses inside and then parentheses inside the bracket, you're going to work your way from the inside out. Does that make sense? You're going to work your way from the inside out. I'm teaching you too, so make sure you respond to me. Yeah. So you're going to work your way from the inside out. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're working our way from the inside out, Lonnie. What do we do first? So 10 divided by 2 is what? So we're going to start with 10 divided by 2. We're working our way from the inside out. So that's going to be what? So it's 5. I know this is cumbersome, but rewrite everything else, Okay, so write your answer underneath 10 divided by 2, and then I teach my students to rewrite everything else. Okay, so I'm done this. I did 10 divided by 2. Now I'm gonna rewrite everything else. You're probably thinking, why am I rewriting everything else? It just makes it easier for you to see what comes next, okay? So I'm gonna put my bracket thing that I got. How you wrote it. I gotta put the parenthesis in. Oh.
I got the same thing.
Okay. So if you rewrote everything else, here's what you should have. 20 minus parenthesis 4 plus bracket plus 4 plus 5 parenthesis bracket. Okay. That looks weird. I don't know why they did that like that, but anywho. So what do we do next if we're going to work our way from the inside out?
4 plus 5.
This must be that has to be a parenthesis. So yes, we're going to do 4 plus 5 next. Okay. So do 4 plus 5 next. This is what we're going to do next. 4 plus 5. What's 4 plus 5? 9. Put in your 9 and rewrite everything else. Now, why are we rewriting everything else? Because we're showing our work. Is this what you got? Okay, so I'll wait. When we're done, we're going to have that pizza pie with the pepperoni at the bottom. So I did 4 plus 5, write my number underneath, then rewrite everything else. Okay, so now the next step is we're going to do parentheses. Okay, when a problem has parentheses, it makes it easier. You just do what's inside the parentheses. Parentheses always comes first in the order of operations. So what's 9 plus 4? 9 plus 4 is 13. Now rewrite everything else. So if you are following the steps of the order of operation, you should have 20 minus 13. Okay? What is 20 minus 13?
7.
20 minus 13, Ailani says 7. Agree or disagree? Of course you agree. You said that was your answer. Pepperoni, you should circle your answer. As a teacher, I love when kids circle their answer. It makes it easy for my eyes to find. Okay? So now at each step, you showed your work. Okay? I'm going to take a picture of this so I can send it to people who aren't on the live stream. Okay? And I can share it with them. Okay. So now we're going to do one more guided practice question here, and then I'm going to go to the homework assignment. Okay. So the problem in the guided practice is on page 488. It is parentheses. Okay. Write it with me. Close that. So parentheses 28 plus bracket parenthesis 2. Can't see what that is. It's hard for me to see. Close the bracket. Now close the parenthesis. So I'll read it again. It's parenthesis 28 plus bracket parenthesis 2 times 4 close parenthesis divided by 8 close the bracket parenthesis. And now we're going to do the problem and we're going to show our work at each step. Now you're probably thinking, if you have more than one operation, look at this problem. In this problem, we have addition, multiplication, and division. So that's where the order of operations come in when you have more than one operation. I have addition, multiplication, and division. more than one operation. So I need to use the order of operations, or what me and your moms and dads, we know it as PEMDAS, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, to be able to figure out what to do first. And what do the parentheses say? Parentheses are going to say, hey, solve me first. And the brackets mean the same, parentheses inside the brackets. So if you have parentheses, brackets, and then you have parentheses inside of the brackets, then you're going to solve it from what? Right, you're going to work your way from the inside out. So let's work our way from the inside out. So Lonnie, if we're working our way from the inside out, what do we do first? So we're going to do 2 times 4. So what is 2 times 4?
8.
So you're going to write your answer right underneath there. 2 times 4 is 8. So I write it underneath there. Now here comes the part that most kids don't like to do. They don't like to show their work. They're like, why do I need to do that? I can do it in my brain. You need to do it because these problems are just going to grow bigger, 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 and longer. In fact, when me and Ailani are done, these little ones, I'm going to give her problems that are bigger, 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 and longer. So please show your work at every step. So now I'm going to rewrite everything else. I'm done with this. So I'm going to rewrite everything else. Divide by 8, put my bracket, put my parenthesis, put my bracket. Brackets are going to say, hey, solve me first. Your parentheses, what are they going to say? Hey, solve me first. So now look at the problem. According to what I'm going to work my way from the inside out, and Ailani says solve what's in the bracket. So let's go ahead and solve what's in the bracket. What is 8 divided by 8? It's 1. So I'm going to write my answer right underneath here. We're done with this. 8 divided by 8 is 1. Now I'm going to rewrite everything else that's in my problem. Now I'm left with 28 plus 1. Now, if you showed the work the way I'm showing you, you should be able to have a pizza pie with the pepperoni at the bottom. The pepperoni at the bottom is your answer. So you should have a slice of pizza with the pepperoni at the bottom if you showed your work at every step. And that is how you evaluate or solve a problem with more than one operation using the order of operations, which back in the day we used to just call it, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. But you cannot forget this part, solve from left to right, because as you increase in levels, this part becomes very important. So I had a student, hopefully you're watching, who has some trouble with the homework. So I am going to go to the homework for those of you who have a book. Okay, if you have a copy of the 5th grade My Math book, we're going to take a look at the homework page. Okay. Those for my students, you need to do the odd numbers on page 489 and 490. Okay. So my students, you need to do pages, I'll say that again, look at that together, go through it together, okay? So on page 492, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm not going to do all 6 problems with you, but I am going to do some of the brain builder questions with you since those seem to be the more difficult, okay? So number 3, so go to page 4. No, I'd like for you to number it. So this is number 3, so I'm gonna put a 3 here. And now we're going to write the problem. So number 3, it says, place parentheses and brackets in the expression below so that it equals 18. So these are parentheses and these are solve me first. So pretty much the problem is, and let's write this down. It says 2 to the 3rd power. The little number floating in the air, Lonnie, what's that called? Yes, so it says 2 to the 3rd power times 4 divided by 2 plus 2. They want us to use parentheses and brackets to figure out how to make this equal 18. So down here at the bottom, I'm going to write 18 and circle it because they want the value to equal 18 when we're done solving the problem. So that means where can we place our brackets? Where can we place our parentheses in the exponent? This is not. Here, how do you solve that? Right. 2 to the third power is the same thing as 2 times 2 times 2. The exponent tells you how many times to multiply the base. Okay? So 2 to the third power is 2 times 2. Let's solve it. 2 times 2 is 4. And what's 4 times 2? That is what?
8.
That is 8. All right? So we pretty much know that this has a value of 8. So 2 to the third power has a value of 8. So that's going to be helpful to us since we have to put in our parentheses and brackets to make it equal 18. Any guesses, Ailani? Where to put our parentheses? What should we do first? I would start with parentheses.
Yeah,
Yes, because normally when you have a problem, the brackets come last and the parentheses say, hey, solve me first. So I'm going to place my parentheses first. Any guesses, Lonnie, for where I should put it?
2 plus 2.
Okay, Ailani thinks we should put parentheses around 2 plus 2. Her guess. Let's try it. Let's try Ailani's guess. Ailani says put parentheses around 2 plus 2. If Ailani is right, if I put parentheses around 2 plus 2, when I'm done, I should equal 18. So let's do it. So 4, 2 plus 2 is 4. Rewrite everything else. Now what do I do? According to the order of operations, what comes first? Exponents, right? So 2 to the third power, we already solved it. It said it has a value of what? 8. Oh, she just said over, oh no, this isn't right. So this type of problem, you're going to have to use the strategy guess and check. So it's okay. So let's erase that and let's come up with a different strategy. Now we know the parentheses do not go around 2 plus 2. Any other guesses now that you know that doesn't work? And you're just going to have to do trial and error. You're going to have to use the strategy guess and check. Either second or third. That's going to come last. So I would probably put my parentheses around what's going to give me the bigger value. So I'm going to put my parentheses around 2 to the third power times 3. I'm sorry, times 4. 2 to the third power times 4. And then I'm going to put the brackets, and I'll use a different color. And if you're doing this at home, you can follow with me. Put your brackets outside of your parentheses. I notice that's normally how it goes. So again, for this type of problem, you just have to use the strategy guess and check. So 2 to the third power is what? What do we say it has a value of? 8. So put the number 8 and now rewrite everything else. Get parentheses 8 times 4, close parentheses divided by 2, close the bracket plus 2. I just noticed some more people joining. If you just joined and you are one of my students, we are doing the homework question on page 492, question number 3. And we're practicing the order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So what do I do next, Lonnie? So what inside the brackets, because the brackets are now going to say the same thing that the parentheses say. Hey, solve me first. Plus 2. I don't know how parentheses and brackets sound in your head, but in my head, that's how they sound. So what's 32 divided by 2? If you cannot do 32 divided by 2 mentally on the side of your paper, set up a division problem. Okay? Almost wrote the answer. So if you can't, bring down the 2. How many times does 2 go into 12? 6. 6 times 2 is 12. Subtract them left with 0. That means 32 divided by 2 is what? You should have gotten 16 if you set up a division problem on the side of your paper. Now bring down your plus sign, bring down your 2. 16 plus 2 is what? 18, which is what they said wrong. That's why it's called guess. The first time we did it, Alani said, you know what? I figured that I put these parentheses in the wrong spot. I got to try again. All right? Because this is important. And this is why a lot of people on Facebook get this wrong. So question 5, it says vocabulary check. And Lonnie, I want you to see if you can fill in the blank. It says fill in the rules of the order of operation tell you to multiply and divide in order from blank to blank. I'll say that again. I'll read it again. Fill in a blank with the correct word to complete the sentence. The rules of the order of operations tell you to multiply and divide in order from blank to blank. What words go in the blanks? Yes, which is what I told you. So every time you do an order of operation problem, write this down the side of your page. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, left to right, or L to R, because you're either going to multiply and divide or add or subtract in order from left to right. In order from left to right. In order from left to right. Okay? So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. That's how you know how to put them in order. And down underneath it, write L to R or left to right. So the P stands for parentheses. The E stands for exponents. We just did a problem with an exponent. The M stands for multiply. The D stands for divide. A stands for add. The S stands for subtract from left to right. So now that we've reviewed a few of the problems on the homework, I want you to try to do them by yourself. If you're on the math and you want a call, just say, Mrs. Wilkins, my parent is here. Can you call me? All right. So that's going to be it for you and again in 5 minutes. Feel free to share the video with someone else who might need the help on this particular lesson. Or if you came in late to the live stream, you could always go back and watch it from the beginning. Just skip through the talking and me getting all the students into the live stream from my Google Classroom. Thank you. And don't forget to click the bell when we're done or notification if you don't have a link.